All right, so thank you so much, Mr. Parish. You can come up to the podium. I'm sorry for our tardiness.
That's okay.
I was trying to crack a couple of jokes at the beginning to make it funny, but I don't seem to be too well at jokes, so I'm sorry. All right, so
Everybody's nervous that they have to get up and answer questions.
I know it's a little bit.
It's human nature.
Well, we're supposed to be a little intimidating, it's part of the allure.
Everybody's putting themselves out there, and we know that just one person will be selected. So, from what I've seen, you guys are pretty good.
And we do appreciate you guys for doing this. Like this makes us happy to see so many people who are interested in trying to come on and help serve the city. So we're gonna go ahead and start, even though we've talked to you before, but we're gonna go ahead and kick this interview off by you telling us a little bit about yourself. You can start with personal and then go into your professional.
Okay. Personally, I'm married to Roxanne Parish. We have 3 kids that are products of the Sylacauga school system and now are all graduates of college. So as of this year, my youngest finished at AUM.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yes, I worked 17 years for Avondale Mills, which is what brought me to Sylacauga back in 1988, originally as a summer intern, then full-time, and I moved around a bit, but came back in 98. And then was at Eva Jane when Avondale closed. Helped open the Home Depot in Oxford as their HR manager for 14 months, and then I came to NEMAC in the latter part of 2007 in human resources, and I've been there ever since. Currently hold the position of HR operations leader, but my focus primarily right now is payroll and benefit administration, getting that straightened out, but still support the HR specialists.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. This is even on my question list, and I don't even think I asked you the last time. Would that like interfere with you serving with the board? Because I know sometimes they have those special call meetings that are at like 7:30 in the morning.
They'll have like town hall meetings. No, because I don't conduct those. The specialists would be responsible for those, and I would attend the ones that I can. In fact, I guess for about the last 7 years or so, I've kind of been community involvement as a priority to let people know who NEMAC is, because it was a name, but nobody knew what NEMAC was. So part of that was getting NEMAC's name in the community and involvement. So yes, you've probably seen from my resume, I've been involved with the school foundation, the industrial development board. You all appointed me to that. Career tech advisor, chairperson for Sylacauga City and Talladega County Schools. Modern manufacturing board member. There's a number of different things to keep us involved, our name out there, but also it's good for our company. You know, its future is a big focus on education, personally and professionally.
Okay, and that makes sense. I kind of got my wheels turned in my head. So let me ask you this: so why are you interested in the BOE, especially with your youngest graduating college? So
right.
Why? Yeah, I know.
Well,
so why?
My kids have done well with the education they got in Sylacauga, and I feel like the program and the curriculum, the school is better now. But I want it to keep going, because your education is your future students and community members that are going to be involved, working, running businesses. So it's important that they have a strong foundation educationally. So that still supports NEMAC. We need to ensure that we have a good educational system available to our citizens.
I know, it's kind of like
Also for recruitment. I try to get a plant manager. You know where they all want to go? Chelsea. Now, it's not just schools, and the schools here are improving. Grades are coming up. They're being recognized for awards. Housing is a big issue.
Yeah.
That's
You don't have to whisper.
But-
We all know it. You just say
No, we're-
it.
yeah,
And I've been on meetings with Glenn Siska, we've talked about it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, Childersburg's building, Harpersville's building, what does it take? What do we got to do? Because when we're trying to recruit people to come to NEMAC, they all want to live in Chelsea or Eagle Point. I want them here to be closer to operations. I'm the one that can be to work in 8 minutes and go over the hill, but I'm not the one that can solve an operational issue. Could have at Avondale, because I did operations there too, but not at NEMAC.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's important for us as a business, but just as the community we live in, it's our future.
You're right. I always get excited about interviews. I actually learn something in. So I'm actually learning something too. So thank you for that knowledge. All right. So Anybody else wanna ask anything? I got my wheels turned over here. I got so many questions that does not involve this interview.
I'm just curious, looking at your resume, what's the Trail Town Committee? Is that been voting?
Trailtown, so Kim and Nathan Wright,
Right?
putting NEMAC on the map is Trailtown. You got Heflin along the Pinhoti is where your hikers come through. It's a tourism thing, but they can go to the chamber and get their tag. So, you know, there's different recognitions your town wants to have, like Trail Town, Tree City, small town, or your downtowns and things like that. That's another thing that distinguishes Sylacauga. And so Kim and Nathan asked me as a trail runner and a runner, would I support them and be involved? I said yes. And it's not like it meets, once, twice a year.
Okay.
It's a high demand thing, but they need presence.
And is Earth a big time sucker, or is it not?
Earth's important. Margaret asked me to serve on the board of directors because I was the link between Avondale, that site. I was the HR on the site when it closed. And probably the hardest but most rewarding thing I did in my career was to help place people into the next step of their lives and do it myself because we all had to have a new job. And NEMAC made a donation to SAFE on their 20th anniversary, $20,000. No strings attached to how Margaret would use that because most of her money is grant money, it's earmarked, she has to use it a certain way. This was to use as she saw fit. And she came back and said, we're going to use this for an innovation and incubation. Didn't have a name back then. Will you be on that committee? In fact, Steve and I were on that committee. And then eventually it got a name. We went to Birmingham and saw the incubation system up there where Main Street started and others. And pieces started falling in place and support started to come in, the governor's grant. Then Robin, instrumental in all of this. And she asked me would I be one of the board members because of the ties there and the importance. So that's professional and personal to me because I want something out of that site is going to affect the region. Sylacauga will probably benefit more than any other region because it's here. And I know there's so many misconceptions out there online when people talk about it. So, well, where's the dog park? And there's a lot of unknowns, but there's a lot of known things. But it's incubation, workforce development, SAFE, and all the services that come with that, and so many others are attracted to it. And anything that Margaret or Joe Morton put their fingers on turned to gold.
That's absolutely the truth.
So I'm honored to be involved.
I believe that we've been witnesses of that. I got a question. Have you been attending any of the BOE meetings?
I've been to one or two, but not regularly. I have not.
Okay, so even with the meetings that you did attend, in your opinion, what are some of the most important challenges or opportunities that you think we're facing with our school system?
Okay, with the school system, just in general, and I get more from just BOE, I get reports from, schools make reports at the development board meetings and the school foundation meetings. Declining enrollment is a challenge because that ties to units, which means money. Mm-hmm. And so how do we offer everything with less teachers? And in discussions with different people and Dr. Eller, one of the things they do is they have to give up units. You have some attrition every year. And so you might not bring as many in as you lose because you have to give up units. It's strategically finding people that fill holes and maybe have multiple talents to cover those programs so you don't have to give up a program. You can still have it, but one person can serve multiple roles. So it's putting that puzzle together a little bit differently so that you can achieve everything with less and being optimized.
Let me ask you this. So what do you think your role, if selected, what do you think your role as a board member would be? What do you think, you as a board member, what would be your sole purpose?
I think as the board member is to seek out and help discover as much information about whatever the subject matter is, whether it's curriculum or it is a needed repair, is what are all the options, and helping the team explore those options so that we can come to consensus on that, instead of I have this opinion and defending it is being open to the other ideas and then collectively coming up with the best solution together.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna stop, because I'll take over.
You've asked all my questions, I
You
have more.
You have great questions though, so I don't mind.
I know, I have lots and lots of questions.
So what skills do you have that makes you fit for this board seat?
Well, I'd say the HR background is working with people, but I work with a lot of teams. I work with a lot of different kind of teams. I work with engineers, I work with HR people, I work with leaders, I work with associates. Being able to work with different teams, I think is an incredible skill, because not everybody can work in groups. Some people are tremendous individually, but that's where they excel. I can work independently, but I work great on teams.
Well, talking about that and teamwork, and we've faced that some on our side, kind of explain to us in a situation, say you're on a team and there's a conflict arising, kind of a butting heads of opinions.
Mhm.
How do you get past that and get to a general consensus of, okay, this is what we agreed on and this is what we're going to do moving forward to solve that problem at hand?
I think one of the things that teams have to do is allow each person on the team to fully express their thoughts and their reasonings and not cut people off, because so many people will jump to a decision or a conclusion without having all the information, and sometimes it's beyond the initial discussion. But if we go this route, what other things does that affect? By giving each person on that team an opportunity to participate and feel part of the team, and not just try to find that person that's going to vote with you or to do that. Sometimes your opinion's not the popular one, and that's okay. Sometimes we're wrong. We're not right. Or maybe our choice is not as good as another choice. Maybe not wrong, but it's not the best option. So it's being open to that and being open to other ideas and encouraging that of the others.
Okay, I have a question, another question. I know a lot of times, people, they apply and they wanna, have seats on boards, but they don't actually know what they actually do.
Mm-hmm.
So the board, the BOE, they basically work, directly with the superintendent, and they don't deal with day-to-day stuff, and they don't
Right.
deal with employees. So how would you handle a situation with a parent calling you, complaining about something, and I guess demanding you do something about it when you don't deal with?
Okay. And I face that in my job, where I have people come to me now where that's not my responsibility, but I would understand that if, let's say they had a child at Sylacauga High School and they had an issue with the high school, I would redirect them to the principal of the high school, knowing that that is the person at that school who initially would. I wouldn't try to take it on myself. I would listen. I certainly would listen, but I would redirect them to the principal. I wouldn't send them right to the superintendent either. I think there's a chain of command, and that should be followed. And we have that same at work. I redirect associates back to their supervisors and say, talk to your supervisor. If not satisfied, you do have the right to go to the manager and up the scale of the chain of command, and I'll be glad to assist you in that, but that's not my decision to make.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't have any more questions. Do you
No,
guys
that's
have any
great.
questions? Do you have any questions for us, Mr. Parish?
Nope, and I understand you're not voting tonight. I think that is about the same as last year, but I do thank you, and I commend that the other candidates you have are tremendous choices too.
Well, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
that, but we will be, considering it, it will be on the next agenda.
Okay, thank you much.
Thank you, I'm sorry about that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and, kick this off, and we're gonna ask, you to tell us a little bit about yourself. You can start, personally, then go into your professional.
Okay. All right, I made myself some notes. I'm gonna look down. I'm not cheating. I'm just trying to stay on task so that you can keep me to my 10 minutes, or I will talk your head off.
It's okay, it may go a little longer, that's okay, that just means it's, look, we're interested, we're learning stuff as well.
Okay. Well, I am Shannon Fairball. I am a lifelong resident of the area. I grew up in Childersburg, down the road. I have lived here in the city, not to tell my age, I think 25 years, 26 years. My mom was a English teacher at Childersburg High School for her
Miss
entire
Dobbs.
career. Yeah, Miss Dobbs. She taught me and Tiffany. She was there for 33 years. My husband Billy was a teacher here at the city and taught for 26 years here, just one somewhere else. We moved back to Sylacauga when he decided he wanted to come back and teach where he grew up. He had talked to, I think it was, sorry, I had to think about people being behind me. He was probably talking to, I think it was Lynn Hodges, Renee Riggins, and they were some of the people who influenced him the most in his career choices while growing up here in Sylacauga. And they talked him into considering coming back to Mountain View and teaching there, and we've been here.
I was in his first class.
Were
when he
you?
came back.
That's telling your age too. So he's taught here for all of that time. And so to say that education has kind of been an integral part of my life is probably an understatement, to be honest with you. Like I said, graduated from Shannon. I went to Troy University, graduated there with a bachelor's in social work. So I have a license in social work. I'm also a licensed nursing home and assisted living administrator. I work for Nolan Health Services. We have the facility here on Fort Williams. It's Sylacauga Health and Rehab and Spring Terrace Assisted Living. So oftentimes I employ the kids who grow up and go through these school systems. I've employed a lot in the healthcare field that come out of Sylacauga High School. So I see what we're getting when we're bringing people out. You know, I believe that these long elastic ties that we have in small communities really matter. My kindergarten administrator was one of the first people that I can remember outside of my parents teaching me what rules were. You know, she's one of the first people I can remember helping me learn how to say my ABCs, count my 1, 2, 3s, and put me in the corner when I talked too much during that time. And during her latter years, she finished her days at my facility. So she had no idea who I was. Wouldn't have been able to recall that to save her life. But I knew who she was. And I knew the difference and the impact she had on me 4 years later.
Wow.
And was able to hold her hand. And you know, that cyclical, profound experience matters to me. And that's part of why I wanted to apply for this position on the board. You know, I believe that every child deserves a pathway to success. And as a board member, I would kind of focus on just ensuring those policies and resources compassionately address the various needs of every child to ensure that they thrive and they have the opportunity to thrive.
Okay. So that was kind of my first question. I was gonna ask you, you know, why were you interested in serving the board? So with that being said, Shannon, I'm gonna piggyback off of it a little bit. How do you think you can help make that happen? Like, what are some of your ideas or some things that you think should be implemented to ensure that, you know, the things that you feel should happen can happen?
Well, when I'm looking at what the roles and responsibilities of the board is,
Mhm.
you know, we're looking at advocacy, which, you know, my career has prepared for. You know, I've spent my entire career supporting families or individuals on critical transitions. You know, my background in social work has made me keenly aware of the diverse needs of our students. You know, we have 2-3% of English learners in our system. We have a lot of students who experience homelessness or in foster care. You know, I'm inspired by the progress of the city schools. We had a B grade for our achievement in 22-23, and I'm certain we can continue to improve on that. You know, there are 4 key priorities, I think, that we're kind of putting a little bit of focus on. As far as the board goes, you know, I'm very big on policy and procedure. There are protocols and rules, guidelines for a reason. And I think that that's part of what the board's responsible for. It's the majority of what we're responsible for, is to ensure that those things are being followed, amended when needed to be. I believe that you have to be, even though we've got to be good financial stewards and be fiscally responsible, we also have to look at individual needs without forgetting the bigger picture. So on a whole.
How would you make that happen? Because I know, I think I said this in the last one, you know, a lot of times, you know, we apply for these boards and these seats, but we don't actually know what the actual role is. Because as a board member, you know, they deal directly, you know, with the superintendent. So they don't deal with like the day-to-day operations, and they don't deal with employees. So how would you as a board member ensure that those things are being taken care of? You know, since you're not really dealing with any of the employees, how would you go about that?
Well, I think that's where transparency comes into play, and having those open-ended and honest conversations with the superintendent. You know, our role as the board is to support her. Our role as the board is to again, review those policies, make sure that they're being implemented and followed, and do that with her. To meet with the, CFSO and talk with him about those fiscal responsibilities and where the money is going and we're using it wisely. Are we putting the right programs in place and implementing them as they should be? Are we giving the support to the teachers? Are we making sure that we have ongoing, educational opportunities and professional development, those types of things?
Okay, so have you had a chance to attend any board meetings, Shannon?
Haven't been in a while.
Okay.
The last one I've been to was a couple of years ago.
Okay, so with the ones that you were able to attend, in your opinion, in which you've kind of said some of this, but you may have some key things you want to throw out. So in your opinion, what are some of the most important challenges or opportunities that we're facing? If you could just like name something on both sides, what would it be?
Well, for challenges within the system itself is addressing, I think, achievement gaps. I think when you look, I wrote some of these things down. You know, students with disabilities have a 25.91 achievement score. Disadvantaged economically students have a 54.31 score. And I think just making sure that we're addressing opportunities and policies to address those students as far as the superintendent and the programs and flags. And again, are we using our money where we should by putting programs and developing those students?
Okay, that's good, that's good. I have another question. If selected to be a board member, and I always ask everybody this, how would you handle a parent situation? Me as an angry parent coming to you, and I'm gonna use Mr. Rivers. I love Mr. Rivers. He's one of my favorite, but I'm gonna use him. I'm angry with you, and I don't like Mr. Rivers, and he's just mistreating my kid. So how would you handle me as a parent with an issue I have with Mr. Rivers?
The first thing I want to ask is if you follow training command. Have you gone to the right place first? Because I'm not the first stop as a board member. I would want them to know that we're here to be supportive as a board and that we want to help them receive the best treatment and their child to have the best education possible, but I'm not your first stop, and I never should be. And just making sure that they talk to the right people. And I think it's important to remember that somebody's perspective is their reality. And so you meet them where they are, but put them where they need to be.
I don't have any more questions for y'all. Anybody?
No, it was great.
All right.
Answered all of them.
I took over, Shannon, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I mean, I kind of would like to know what you guys feel like the most important thing is for a board member. Because I know the board is supposed to serve as a liaison between the community and the system. So what do you think the most important part of that role is?
Well, I'm the board education liaison, and I've been there pretty much since 2016. Well, I haven't. And my personal opinion, I think, is someone that isn't afraid to, stand up and stand aside and not just go with the flow. And if they see something, stand up and say, we need to, look aside and pick a new avenue, basically, and say, look, this isn't working. We can't, for lack of better terms, beat the dead horse here. We got to figure out another way to approach the situation. If something's not working, I like thinking outside of the box. And I think our board and superintendent and admin do a great job at doing that, because as we know, we're losing a lot of money and there's not a lot of grants coming out. We had a lot of influx when COVID came around with these free monies coming. Well, that's gone now. And people in financial leadership roles now are finding creative ways to use what we have to help make what we got when we had the free money last. And so that's always good. What I want to see in a board member is, creative thinking, critical thinking, and not afraid to speak their mind.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
You doing all right tonight?
I'm good, how are y'all?
We're good.
Great.
Sorry that I think we're kind of behind, but then we're kind of early. So we're kind of behind and kind of early.
That's all right.
So we're gonna go ahead and kick this off and ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself. You can start with your personal and then go into your professional.
Okay. I'm Heather Abear. I'm married to Michael, and I have 2 children that will be in the Sylacauga school systems next year. I have been involved in PTO at Sylacauga schools in Indian Valley, Pinecrest, Nichols Lawson, and this past year I was the president of PTO at the Sylacauga High School. I've also been involved in the basketball boosters this past year, as well as this year the football boosters. I was a community mentor at Nichols Lawson, and a year ago I got the Volunteer of the Year award from the City Schools Foundation. So I'm very involved in the schools as a parent, and I'm a graduate of Sylacauga High School. I went on to Stanford University and I had a degree in communications. 2 years before I got my degree, I worked as a Promise Fellow through Colin Powell's America's Promise program and helped start the after-school Bridges programs that you see here in Sylacauga.
Wow.
So I did that, and I got a living stipend, and I got a scholarship to help pay for school at Stanford with that. So I came back to Sylacauga in 2002, and I started the Dance and Performing Arts Company. I ran that as a business for 14 years, and then I gifted that to Safe Family Service Center, and it is still going as a nonprofit Southern Dance and Performing Arts Company.
Wow. I did not know that about the bridges. Wow, that's a big deal.
It is.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. So, why the BOE? So why this? Why do you want to serve on the Board of Education?
Well, first of all, as a parent, and I want our schools to be the best possible schools that we can have here in Sylacauga. I believe that we're heading in the right direction as far as our curriculum, and I feel like the students are getting more and more equipped to graduate. I think it's important that we remember that when they graduate, they will go to 3 different things. Either they will go to higher education and learning, join the military or the workforce, and I just want to be a part of that and feel like the things that I have done in my past, as well as my connections with the school, I just feel like that would be a benefit to our school board.
Okay. All right. So, if selected, what do you think your role as a board member would be?
Well, first of all, I do understand that as a board member, I work as one person in a group of a team. And so we make decisions as a whole. I also know that as a board member, my job is to hire, oversee the superintendent, the budget, and also be a community voice. So to listen to the people of the community and to bring that to the table along with to the educators, and to work as a group, as a city, to help provide the best schools for our kids.
Okay. So, have you had a chance to attend any board meetings, Heather?
I have.
Okay. So, just with the meetings that you've attended, what are some of the most important challenges and opportunities that you think our school system is facing?
Well, as I've mentioned, I feel like the classroom is what we always have to strive to make better and to protect. So with that being said, I would say that teacher shortage is an issue always. Making sure that you have qualified teachers and even specialized teachers. I also think always a pressing issue, and not that we don't have safe schools right now, but the safety of our schools is important, to make sure that every student feels safe and welcome. And I think that is always an issue that we should always keep before and make of importance.
Okay, so with those things that you just named, what ideas do you have to help implement those, to make sure that we have, qualified teachers, or to make sure that the school system is safe? Do you have any, anything that you would, as a board member, you would like to see implement, or something you would like bring to the table to see those things happen?
Well, what comes to mind is I know that Indian Valley received the Pacesetter Award this past year, as well as our Star Award. We scored an 82, and in 3 years, we've scored up to an 86 now. So I think putting information out like that to the public, marketing your schools to other people, letting them know the progress that's being made, is a big way to help bring in teachers, when you go to recruit teachers at colleges or other events, making sure they see that our school is making progress. And also just, I know a lot of teachers might live out of town, and just what the city has been providing as far as entertainment and activities and what we have out on 280. I think things like that, to help let them know what we have. Because sometimes I think it's a hidden secret. People see and read and hear the negative, but I think marketing your schools and to letting people know and seeing the statistics is beneficial.
Yeah, good. Okay, so let me ask you this, and I, keep using this, I'm gonna use Mr. Rivers again. I know, if selected and as a board member, how would you handle an angry parent? Say I came to you and I'm upset, Mr. Rivers just been mistreating my baby, and I'm just sick of Mr. Rivers, and I wanna have him removed. How would you handle that situation?
Yeah, those are always tough situations, and I know that from working in the community as well as running a business, I ran into situations like that. And I think first and foremost, I think people just want to be heard. They want to know that somebody cares. And so I think it's important to listen to the person. But after you listen, I do know that there is a chain of command, and I do know that if possible, it would be important for them to go and to talk to Mr. Rivers, and if not, talk to the superintendent. So I would encourage them to do that. But I also would listen and be understanding and maybe help to be a liaison between that situation and the other educators.
And I love Mr. Rivers, he's one of my
Me
favorites.
too.
He's gonna see this and be like, really, Miss Smith? I love
He's a good
Mr.
one.
Rivers, I love him. You guys have any questions?
No, I just, no, you went through.
All right, do you have any questions for us?
No, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for coming
Heather.
out, and we aren't gonna consider this tonight, there was a mistake on our agenda, so we're gonna take these home after we do everything, go over it, and we'll make our decision at the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.